Mike, we had a piece here from the Wall Street Journal. It's titled, Trump's Biggest Economic Threat is Inflation. Before we get to the thesis, agree or disagree?
Probably. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, probably the biggest. I'm thinking of things that politically would be the most damaging from the economic standpoint. I'm not saying that inflation is the most likely, but in terms of most damaging to your legacy, you don't think that even higher inflation would be the most problematic?
Well, I mean, now we're getting talking what's problematic for a politician in general, not a politician in the U.S. at this point in time.
Fair. Yeah, fair. I don't think generally. I think specifically the reason that you would rank inflation the highest in terms of economic threats would be because we just had it. And if you allow it to repeat, just like the Federal Reserve, if you allow it to repeat itself, then you lose anything resembling credibility about your mastery of the economy.
So, look, this biggest economic threat thing, I disagree on this.
Okay.
And
where do you put it? Recession?
Recession is always incredibly painful to go through. Either recession or high inflation is enough to see politicians voted out in any sphere. It's just how it is. If your economy goes through a recession, you're probably not going to win the next election. If you have high inflation, you're probably not going to win the next election.
Okay, but let's talk about this. I'm going to give a real hypothetical. If by midterms next year, let's paint two scenarios. Inflation's at 6% or unemployment's at 6%.
Republicans lose seats either way.
Yeah, which one makes them lose more? I'd say inflation.
I wonder if you're saying that just because we haven't had a natural recession in over 15 years.
Yeah, might be.
I think about how unhappy people were with the economy in 2010 and 2011, even after the recession ended.
Yep.
And so, here's what I'll say on this. And this piece goes in a bunch of different directions also. It talks about how the data collection from the BLS is not as good as it used to be because of response rates, not just the BLS, but all survey response rates are down. It talks about how you've got different inflation indices that may capture inflation differently, and I think this misses the point when it comes to inflation. And this, I guess, is the place where you can say that inflation could be more damaging. When you see a recession, the biggest thing that you see is job loss, obviously. That's the biggest thing that the average person sees in a recession is more of their friends being laid off.
Yep.
And it doesn't touch everyone in the same way. You can either be employed or not. You might not have as much job as you'd like, but employment is fundamentally binary.
It's like
you're
pregnancy.
employed or you're not, right? Inflation is not. It's a sliding scale. It's not you're inflated or you're not. It's 2%, 3%, 4%. And here's what I can tell you, Mike. What percentage of Americans do you think know what the inflation rate is for the last 12 months?
What percentage of Americans?
2%.
5.
I was going to say 5.
Yeah.
It's very low. It's
tiny.
our listeners and not many more.
Yep.
Okay. Despite that, do you still think that Americans have a good sense for how prices generally move?
No.
Up, down, faster, slower?
I do think they have a
I
sense
do.
of that. Yeah.
I do.
I think they've. In fact, I think that Americans have been shockingly spot on about their fears of tariffs and inflation.
They're not good at predicting where inflation is going to be.
But up or down, they're pretty good.
But in terms of what it's done for the last year,
Yeah.
they can tell you if prices have gone up or down a lot or a little.
Yeah.
I do believe that. And so this is why all this hemming and hawing about well, if the CPI is, becoming less accurate because of more imputed prices, and it doesn't matter. Inflation's not something you can fake. Whether the CPI says inflation's 4% or 2%, okay,
Right.
isn't going to
People
be
know
the
prices.
this is the thing that I also come back to on this. Does anyone think that what the inflation report is in any particular month influences the vast majorities of America's thinking on inflation?
No. Back in
No, it's their
2020
lived experience.
In June of 2022, nobody, everybody was telling me that inflation was 15%. It wasn't. It was 8.7%. But it didn't matter. It didn't.
People
it didn't
knew
matter.
prices went up a lot.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter like the exact number. People know if prices are moving up a lot, up a little, or down a lot.
So I go back. I say if you have either inflation or unemployment at 6%, the inflation one's more damning. The inflation one is more damning.
I've changed my mind. And you've convinced me.
And I'm going to give you more evidence. Back in the last natural recession, the labor force participation rate back then was 66.1%. Today, it is 62.2%. You have a smaller portion of voting Americans that are actually working now, and they will be less affected by a recession than they will be by overall inflation.
Yeah. Okay. I've swung around to
Nice.
to your side here.